I have never seen a federal judge play 4D chess like this before. Seriously, what just happened in the Southern District of New York is absolutely brilliant. It is a masterclass in how to trap a corrupt Department of Justice that thinks it is above the law. Everyone thought the Epstein files were dead. Everyone thought that when Donald Trump's DOJ took over, they would just bury the list forever. And let's be honest, for the last few weeks, that is exactly what they have been doing. They have been stalling. They have been lying. They have been giving us breadcrumbs while hiding the entire loaf. But then, out of nowhere, Judge Paul Engelmayer just dropped a hammer. He issued an order that has completely blindsided the Trump administration. And the best part? He used a motion that everyone said was legally flawed to do it. He used a letter from two congressmen, Khanna and Massie, that most legal experts said would be thrown in the trash. Why would a federal judge waste his time on a motion that supposedly has no standing? Because it wasn't about the congressmen. It was never about them. The judge is using them as bait. He is setting a trap. He is forcing the Department of Justice to go on the record and explain why they are hiding these documents. And in doing so, he has just opened a back door for the real threat to walk in: the victims. This is the moment we have been waiting for. This is the moment where the cover-up starts to crack. So if you think this is just another boring legal update, think again. This is the beginning of the end for the secrecy. Let's break down exactly how Judge Engelmayer just outsmarted the entire Department of Justice, the context and the racket. Before we get into the genius of the judge's order, we need to talk about the audacity of what the DOJ is doing. It is honestly disgusting. We have a law called the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It was passed by Congress. It was signed into law. It says, very clearly, that the government must release all the files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. All of them. Not the ones that are convenient. All of them. And what has the Department of Justice done? They have turned over about 12,500 pages. That sounds like a lot, right? $2 million. They have released less than 1% of what they have. And when asked about it, their response is basically a shrug. They say, "Oh, we are working on it. We are processing them as fast as we can. Give me a break." They are not processing anything. They are stalling. They are running out the clock because they know that every day they delay is another day their friends are safe. This is not how a Justice Department is supposed to function. In a normal legal system, you have an adversarial process. You have the prosecution on one side and the defense on the other. They fight, they argue. That is how the truth comes out. But in this case, look at what is happening. The Department of Justice, which is supposed to be prosecuting criminals, is effectively on the same team as Ghislaine Maxwell. Think about that for a second. The prosecutors and the sex trafficker have the exact same goal right now. They both want these files to stay hidden. They are partners in this cover-up. It is a racket. There is no other word for it. It is a racketeering enterprise operating from within the government to protect powerful people who abuse children. And because they are all on the same side, nobody was pushing back. The judge was sitting there, waiting for someone to complain. But who is going to complain? Ghislaine Maxwell certainly isn't going to demand the files be released. And the DOJ isn't going to demand it either. So the judge was stuck. He knew what was happening. He knew they were dragging their feet. But without emotion, without someone formally asking the court to intervene, his hands were tied. The system was perfectly rigged to ensure silence. Or at least they thought it was. Because they forgot about one thing. They forgot that sometimes political enemies can become allies when the truth is at stake. Khanna is a progressive Democrat. Massie is a libertarian Republican. These two men agree on almost nothing, but they both looked at this situation and said, enough is enough. They joined forces. They wrote an amicus brief, a friend of the court letter demanding transparency. And that letter changed everything. The deep dive and the trap. Now, let's get into the legal weeds, because this is where it gets fascinating. When Khanna and Massie sent that letter, the Department of Justice probably laughed. They probably looked at it and said, "This is cute. These congressmen have no standing." And legally speaking, they are technically right. Standing is a very specific legal concept. It means you have to be directly injured by the case to have a right to speak in court. You cannot just walk into a random trial and start making demands because you are interested in the outcome. Khanna and Massie are not parties to the criminal case against Ghislaine Maxwell. They are not prosecutors. They are not defense attorneys. They are just members of Congress. So the DOJ expected the judge to just dismiss their letter. They expected him to say, "Sorry, you guys don't have standing. Go away." That is the standard procedure. That is what a normal judge would do. But Judge Engelmayer is not a normal judge. He is sharp. He is meticulous. And he saw an opportunity. Instead of dismissing the letter, he issued an order. And I want you to listen very closely to what he did. He ordered the government to respond by this Friday, January 16, 2026. He forced them to answer two specific questions. First, do these representatives have standing to participate in this criminal case? And second, does the court have the authority to enforce the Epstein Transparency Act? Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute. Why is he asking questions he already knows the answer to? He knows they probably don't have standing. Why waste time? Here is the genius of it. By forcing the DOJ to respond, he is putting them on the record. He is making them stand up in open court and argue, in writing, that they should not be supervised. He is making them publicly say, "We do not want anyone looking over our shoulder." But there is something even deeper hidden in his order. There is a phrase he used that is the key to the whole trap. He asked about issues concerning the DOJ, as compliance that have not been raised in this matter by any party or victim. Did you catch that? Or victim. That is the signal. That is the flare gun being fired into the night sky. The judge is explicitly acknowledging that there is a group of people who do have standing. The victims, the survivors of Epstein and Maxwell's abuse. They have rights under the Crime Victims' Rights Act. They have a direct interest in seeing justice done. If a victim were to file the exact same motion that Khanna and Massie filed, the DOJ would be in big trouble. They could not argue lack of standing against a victim. They could not dismiss a survivor the way they can dismiss a congressman. Judge Engelmayer is basically shouting to the victim's lawyers. He is saying, "Look, I can't help these congressmen because they are the wrong messengers. But if you bring me this message, if you ask me to appoint a special master, I can do it. My door is open. I am just waiting for the right person to knock." It is a brilliant judicial maneuver. He is using a flawed motion to invite a perfect one. He is showing the roadmap to everyone watching. And you have to believe that the lawyers for the victims are reading this order right now. They are looking at that language. They are realizing that the judge is on their side. He wants to enforce the law. He wants to release these documents. He just needs the legal trigger to do it. And by setting this deadline for Friday, he has created a pressure cooker. The blind side and the panic. Imagine the panic inside the Department of Justice right now. They thought they had this contained. They thought they could just slow roll this for the next 4 years until everyone forgot. They thought that with Trump in power, they were untouchable. And now, suddenly, they have a federal judge breathing down their necks. They have a deadline. This Friday. They have to come up with a legal argument that doesn't sound completely corrupt, and that is going to be very hard to do. Because look at their options. Option 1. They argue that the court has no authority to enforce the Transparency Act. They say, "Judge, this is none of your business. Congress passed the law, but you can't make us follow it. If they say that, they are declaring war on the judiciary. They are saying that the executive branch is above the law. Judge Engelmayer is not going to take that lightly. Federal judges are very protective of their power. They do not like being told they are powerless. The DOJ takes that route. They might annoy the judge so much that he finds a way to hammer them anyway. Option 2. They admit the court has authority, but they argue that they are already complying. They say, "Look, Judge, we released 12,000 pages. You're doing a great job." But that argument is weak. 12,000 out of 2 million is not compliance. It is a joke. And if they try to make that argument, the judge can simply say, "I don't believe you. I need someone to verify that. I am appointing a special master to double-check your work." That is the nightmare scenario for Trump's team. A special master, an independent third party who gets to look at everything. Someone who isn't loyal to the administration. Someone who just wants to follow the law. If a special master gets appointed, the game is over. The delay tactics won't work anymore. The excuses won't work anymore. The files will start flowing. And we know why they are terrified of that. We know who is in those files. We know that Donald Trump's name appears all over the Epstein documents. We know that Bill Clinton's name is there. We know that princes and billionaires and powerful politicians are in there. That is why the system is fighting so hard. That is why this alliance between the DOJ and the defense exists. They are protecting the entire establishment. But Judge Engelmayer has found the crack in the armor. He has exposed their flank. And I honestly believe he is hoping for a showdown. He is a man who respects the rule of law. Respects the institution of the court. And watching the Department of Justice turn into a personal protection racket for a pedophile ring must be infuriating for him. He is giving them enough rope to hang themselves. And come Friday, we are going to see if they step into the noose. But there is another layer to this panic. It is the public pressure. By making this a public fight, by putting it on the docket, he has ensured that people like us are talking about it. He has ensured that independent media is covering it. He has taken it out of the shadows and put it squarely in the spotlight. Now, the DOJ isn't just fighting a judge. They are fighting public perception. They have to explain to the American people why they are fighting so hard to keep these secrets. And there is no good explanation. There is no innocent explanation for hiding the names of people who abuse children. The only explanation is guilt. The only explanation is complicity. And they know that we know that. Conclusion and the call to action. So where does that leave us? We are at a tipping point. For years, we have been told that justice is coming. We have been told to trust the plan. We have been told to wait for the authorities to do their job. But what we have learned undeniably is that the authorities are the problem. They are not the solution. They are the gatekeepers of the corruption. But the beauty of the American system, as flawed as it is that it still has pockets of resistance. It still has people like Judge Engelmayer who refuse to bow down to power. Still has people like Khanna and Massie who are willing to cross party lines for the truth. Most importantly, it has us. It has the public. It has the victims. I want to leave you with a question. A question that I hope reaches the ears of every survivor out there. Do you think the Department of Justice is incompetent, or are they complicit? And if they are complicit, are you willing to let them win? Because right now, the door is open. The judge has unlocked it. He is standing there, holding it open, waiting for someone to walk through. If a victim steps forward in the next few days, if a lawyer files that motion, everything changes. The wall of silence collapses. We don't need to wait for Congress to save us. We don't need to wait for the president to save us. We just need one brave person to take the judge's hint. We will be watching the docket closely this Friday. We will be reading every word of the DOJ's response. And we will be right here to break it down for you. Because they can hide the documents, but they cannot hide the corruption anymore. The trap is set. The clock is ticking. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like the good guys might actually have a move to make. If you want to stay updated on this, if you want to know the second the DOJ files their response, make sure you are subscribed. Share this video. Get the word out. Because the more eyes we have on this judge, the harder it will be for them to bury it in the dark. This is not over. In fact, the real fight has just begun. I am Ben Mazzales. This is the Midas Doge Network, and we are not going anywhere until the truth is out. See you on Friday.